Hello. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the artist Salvador Dali. My name is Russell Palmieri, and I hope you enjoy my presentation. To start off, let's get into what type of artist Dali was considered. Dali was pretty much exclusively a surrealist artist. And you might ask, what is surrealism? Well, surrealism is defined as a 20th century avant-garde movement in art and literature that sought to release the creative potential of unconscious mind, for example, by a rational juxtaposition of images. So basically, the movement wanted to expand art by painting wild, fantastical images that would not be something you would normally see in real life. In fact, something it would be physically impossible to see in real life. What are the characteristics of surrealism? Well, the characteristics are the exploration of the dream and unconsciousness as valid form of reality, inspired by Sigmund Freud's writings. A willingness to depict images of perverse sexuality, decay, and violence. The desire to push against the boundaries of social acceptable behaviors and transitions in order to discover pure thought and the artist's true nature. The incorporation of chance and spontaneity. The influence of revolutionary 19th century poets such as Charles Baudelaire, Arthur Rimbaud, and Isidore Duchess. Emphasis on the mysterious, marvelous, mythological, and irrational in an effort to make art ambiguous and strange. Fundamentally, surrealism gives artists permission to express their most basic drives, hunger, and sexuality, anger, fear, dread, ecstasy, and so forth, exposing these the uncensored feelings as if in a dream. So, it's a lot of fantastical, dreamlike, sort of ridiculous and bizarre types of things. How did Dali become a surrealist? Well, this is actually quite a simple answer. Not aside from the fact that when Dali was coming of age as a young artist, that was sort of when the surrealist movement began, and he was friends with a lot of other people in this time and stuff like that. But more logically, I think, if you look into the personality of Salvador Dali himself, as you'll see on this slide, Salvador Dali could only really fit as a surrealist. I mean, he was quite a wacky man, as you see on the top left there. That's Salvador Dali in the streets of Paris walking his pet anteaters. He was quite an interesting, obscure, and a little scary man. His mind was quite fascinating, and this is one of the things that's always drawn me to Dali himself. And it is observed in his paintings that how he sort of thought, which I've read one of his books called Salvador Dali, Diary of a Madman, which is an interesting read, but as like most Dali writings, it's fascinating of how his mind didn't work in a linear thing. It was sort of all over. It's fascinating. Read it if you so desire. For instance, you can see that sort of thing in this first painting that I'm displaying. It's called the Ecumenical Council. It was finished in 1960. It's oil on canvas. It's actually quite huge. You can see the dimensions there. I've seen this in person. It's quite impressive. This painting is supposed to depict the coronation of a pope, and this specific pope appealed to Dali because he sought to renew Catholicism's belief and practices in relation to the modern world. Similarly, Dali sought to revitalize art by merging modern science with spirituality. This is an interesting concept for Dali's, as he talks about a lot in his books or interviews. As egotistical as it sounds, Dali often stated that he believed he was the savior of art, of painting. Not simply because he was so great, but because everyone else at the time was so bad. He saw that modern art was not doing what it should be doing, and he figured if no one else is going to step up to the plate, why not Dali? So he did. This painting is very, it's got a lot going on. The woman towards the bottom in the middle is actually his wife, Gala, which he painted quite often. She was often his biggest muse. She is depicted as Saint Helena. And an interesting fact about this painting, in the top right corner, Dali actually decided to experiment and used an octopus to paint the top corner, and he dipped the octopus's tentacles in paint and put them on the canvas, and then just kind of played around with it. Moving on to the next painting. This painting is actually, I've also seen in person at the Dali Museum, is very fascinating. It's called Gala Contemplating the Mediterranean at Sea, done in 1976. This painting, which is also huge, you can see by the dimensions, is breathtaking in person, not because of its size, but because from a close appearance, it's exactly what the title is. It's his wife, Gala, contemplating over the Mediterranean Sea. But as you get farther away, the exact measurement for the the actual painting is if once you get 20 meters away, it'd be different here. The painting actually becomes a portrait of Abraham Lincoln, which I think is amazing. You can pause this and take steps back from your computer screen to see if you can see it. But in this smaller setting, it should be easier. You shouldn't have to move as far. But I think it's fascinating. And again, all these paintings clearly personify surrealism. I mean, like, where else would you see something like this other than in a dream? Things that can't possibly be true. And move on to the last one. This is not a painting. This is one of my favorite ones. This is called the Lobster Telephone, done in 1936. It's not a painting. It's defined as a surrealist object. Dali was commissioned, and he created this for a poet, an English poet by the name of Edward James, who was a large collector of surrealist art in the time. And in his book, The Secret Life of Salvador Dali, Dali answered the question of so many people have been asking for so many years, why did you make a lobster telephone? To which he responded, whenever I asked for a grilled lobster in a restaurant, I was never presented with a boiled telephone. Now, make of that what you will, whether it be the words of a genius or the words of a madman, but I think that's kind of the magic of Dali. He's kind of a genius mixed with a madman. And moving on finally to his influences. Dali still influences many people today. I mean, he's a name that at least most people probably know. The most prominent influence that I want to discuss is, as you can see here, Dali made a friendship with Walt Disney. As you can see, there's Dali and Walt Disney on the left, and there's a painting of Walt Disney and himself, Salvador Dali, that Dali did. He became friends with Walt Disney, and they both decided they wanted to work on a project together. And through many failures and trying to work it out and running into financial troubles, the project was shelved for a long time. And it never saw the light of day until after both Disney and Dali himself had passed away, when in 1999 a current executive found the project and decided that it should be these two great people, their collaboration should be seen. And it took over 27 animators in the French, the deviation of Disney in France, to sort of work out the ideas Dali had from his original drawings and storyboards and sort of animate this thing. And it was finished in 2003, and it became Destino, which there's a link there. You can simply just type Destino into YouTube. You will find it. And it's a great collaboration, definitely worth watching. And there is my work cited. I hope you learned a little more about Dali, and hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.